All right. Hi, and welcome to the ACMP's Change Management Global Connect 2022 conference. This is a recorded session. We're going to be talking about sponsorship 2.0, inspiring change through core values. I'm Jessica Crow. This is Kristen Olson. We've got a great conversation lined up for you today. If you are watching this, there is a speaker disclaimer you can read. We're not going to spend too much time here. Push pause if you want to spend some time going through it. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started with our conversation. Kristen, do you want to kick us off with the conversation today?
I would love to. I'm so excited to be here with Jessica and you all to talk about change management and the correlation with influencers and brand ambassadors. So why are we here? Marketing and change management share the same goal, inspiring people to take action that lead to the desired outcomes. Both practices leverage influencers, sponsors, or change champions to accelerate buy-in for the brand or change. In the world of marketing, influence is everything versus authority. Partnering with the right influencer is critical to outcomes. What can change practitioners learn from marketing to increase the effectiveness of their sponsorship models and plans?
All right. So that's why we're here. That's the overall context for the conversation, and what you can expect to learn from this session are four key things. We're going to get into some of the motivating factors for behavior change. What motivates people to do something different? Why would they buy into an idea, a change, or a brand? We're going to talk about core values and the importance of bringing those to the table when you're talking about and trying to affect change at the enterprise level, change at scale. We'll give you some tips and strategies on how to coach your sponsors and influencers, also known as your change champions. And then we'll leave you with an immediate action step that you can take as a change leader, a change management professional to raise your level of influence. Now, before we get into that, we're going to give you some context as to why the two of us are here talking to you in the first place. Kristen, why don't you explain your background and why you're here, explaining what's the connection between change management and influencer marketing is?
Absolutely. So starting off very early on in the game, I'm the oldest of four. So right off the bat, I was put into a leadership role as a older sister. And then I was a longtime athlete competing for over 25 years in lacrosse and CrossFit. I was a D1 athlete. And then I started my company, KO Alliance, where we help companies activate in the fitness and wellness space. And we specialize in mission-driven humans and strategic partnerships, working with what we call brand ambassadors and companies, creating these mutually beneficial relationships for the long term. And we've been doing this for over 15 years and have really narrowed in on how to recruit and pick the right people and align them with the right brands, companies, and causes to facilitate these relationships for the long term and execute in the right way.
Yep. And I have known Kristen since we both were in kindergarten. I kind of wish I posted the picture of us in our kindergarten class. Kristen had these big red Sally Jesse Raphael glasses, and I think I was staring in a different direction. But we've known each other for a long time, so we are connected that way. But what we have realized through both of our background, our work experiences, that there is some correlation between what we do. And what I do, again, Jessica Crow, I recently started in 2019 a change management training, coaching, and consulting firm. And my background prior to that, I'd spent almost 17 years climbing the corporate ladder in different contexts. So I was working in technology, I went to real estate, then I went back to technology, and then I went to healthcare, and then I decided to start Apogee. After learning a ton, got to try out almost every single role you can think of in a business. And in every role, I used my change management skills. So I was certified in change management back in 2011 and was a change management professional, a change manager for about 3 years until I went into other roles in strategy, operations. I was a business relationship management director, which is a tech strategy role. I led clinical strategy and innovation. So lots of different roles. But again, change management was something that I leveraged in terms of the concepts, the thinking, the process and tools. And I wanted to create an offering with Apogee to train people on how to lead and influence organizational change. So with that in mind, my focus on influencing individuals within an organization and Kristen's background and expertise in influencing consumers, we realized, hey, we've got a lot of shared similarities here. We should probably talk about those and learn from each other. So with that, I'm going to give the mic back to Kristen, and she's going to give some context for the conversation that we're having.
Yes, I agree. And I'm actually glad you did not have that photo of kindergarten. But it's probably searchable if you want to look it up. It's pretty hilarious. So it's been exciting. As I said, I've been in this for a long time. So to finally have some qualifiable data in our back pocket to go to different clients has really been amazing. But over, the 10, 15, 20 years that I've been in the game, I've seen this firsthand. So I know how important leadership is, recruiting the right people to be those leaders, and in turn, coaching them on how to inspire their community versus just influence it. We want people to want to do certain things. But this is a phenomenal study by the Edelman Group, and it really shows how consumers nowadays are purchasing because they trust a brand more than they love it. So if you look at this, this chart, how it's broken up, you can see over time, it's really going to be more about trust, humanizing the brand, really being transparent in who you are and how you're coming, whether it's a product or a leader, really showing up with your core values and inspiring people to follow in your leadership versus coercively making them do what you're asking them to do. So it's a really exciting time to be in a leadership space. And this is the data that really proves that. And it shows how our consumers or our followers quite literally are now following, and what motivates them to follow and embrace this change in leadership style.
Yeah, this is a key factor for people who are in change management roles, knowing that acceptance, buy-in requires a certain level of trust, not only in the change itself, but the leader who is responsible for advocating, who's accountable for the outcomes of the change. So I think we're seeing on both sides of the table, which is good that there's data to prove that, hey, this is something that we need to be thinking about both with direct to consumer as well as employees within an organization.
Yes. So this is just a little quick slide to demonstrate that process. It says, in an ever-changing and evolving world, our approach to marketing and business overall must evolve too. So evolution constantly has to happen personally and professionally. The consumer is more savvy than they have ever been before, and conscious, and they're mission driven and motivated. So with the use of it and growth of the internet and everything being online, our information's at our fingertips at all time. The consumer is more aware and connected to what they're doing, how they're following, and what leadership, what brands they're buying into, what leaders are following. They can get into the details, so they know everything's more transparent. So with that transparency, it's proven that consumers will align with brands, companies, missions that they trust more than they love. We really can't drive this home enough. It doesn't matter if you're a brand ambassador, influencer, or a leader, CEO, or someone that's just a change champion within an organization. Transparency in that human side is critical, obviously done in the right way, but this is how we really get people to follow, to embrace, and to move forward with change is best in the most best and transparent way that we possibly can.
And I think this is especially important now as more organizations, the internal structures become flatter, because you've got more people who are working remotely, more people working in hybrid, which means those structures that were in place where you've got the hierarchy, right? You've got your leaders down to your front line. It's becoming where people, those types of structures are not necessarily as influential in organizations. It's more about performance and results, and also your ability to your reputation. And I think trust and transparency are a big part of that, knowing that there's just a kind of a business models are shifting.
This is another slide, and this whole deck is worthwhile searching. You can find it on the internet. I really go through, if I was in any sort of leadership role or in a role of coaching leaders, you want to get into this data. It's phenomenal. But this again shows, brand trust matters more than love. So I am going after something that I really, really trust, even though if I love this brand over here, I know who started it, I know why they're doing it, but man, I really trust these guys and how they operate, diversity and inclusion, quality and product, the way that their infrastructure is structured. I'm purchasing based on trust. So this is the exact same with leadership. We want to show up as leaders in a space where we are transparent and we're displaying all the reasons why we can be trusted. Hopefully they like us as well. But that trust piece is really, really key. And that's where that transparency comes in. And of course, attitude reflects leadership. So showing up in the role that we want to be first and foremost, we have to be the change leader, the change champion, or the top influencer first if we want to have others be inspired by us as the leaders or want to follow us.
So Kristen, question for you. As you know, as I was thinking about this, as you were describing this, it got me thinking about the influencers that you connect with the organization. So those strategic partnerships, you've got your brand ambassadors, and within the corporate setting, a brand ambassador is like your sponsor, is like your change champion. So when you're looking at making those connections, those strategic partnerships between an organization and an individual, what are some of the key factors that that reflect the ability for the organization, the strategic partner, to trust the influencer or the individual, or vice versa? Like, what are some of those key factors that you look for, or at least you coach your brand ambassadors on?
Sure, that's a really great question. I think this is applicable for both sides in the influencer space and in the change management space. It's all about recruiting the right people, the right voices, the right leaders, the right ambassadors from the get-go. And what makes that the right fit? Core values are number one. You really need to sit down and intentionally interview, discuss, get to know, spend time with these people that are going to be leading your company, leading your organization, leading through this change, being your lead brand ambassador, being your lead influencer, and making sure that those core values are authentically in place. Again, we have to know that this is a transparent world, so things are going to be seen, and everything in the past of these leaders is searchable. They're on Instagram, they're on social media, their LinkedIn profile, their past history is all there. So if they authentically align, it's actually good that the consumer potential followers go in there and dig into the minutia of their background, because they'll see like, oh man, this is really a fit. So with transparency and authenticity, you are naturally more inclined as a potential follower to be like, oh yes, I do buy in because I see the authentic realness in this. This is not a fabricated fake marketing situation. These humans really do portray and believe in what they're projecting. So I'm more inclined to trust them because I can see like, oh, this is genuine and authentic. I'm here for this.
Yeah. And so what you're describing, if I could use a word, maybe, is consistency. They're consistently showing up in a certain way, and that creates trust, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So here's a key takeaway.
Yeah, we kind of just covered this, so it's perfect. Athletic, Freudian slip.
That too.
Athlete here. Authentic influencers build trust. And it sounds cliche, but at this day and age, you really do spend the time on recruiting the right people, get into the details, get in to know them. And if you can do it right from the get-go, that's really what's going to facilitate the long-term mutually beneficial relationship situation where you can lean on them and trust that they're going to do it the right way because they bleed it like you do. So spend that time to really get to know them and know that those core values are like-minded from the get-go.
Yeah, and I think in the context of finding your change champions and change agents within an organization, I think that's a really important message to take home, because it's not about your title or your role. It's really about the authentic human that you are recruiting to help advocate and support and influence others in the change. So that's a really important message. Here's an example of influencers in marketing.
Yes, this is a really great example. The role of influencers marketing. This is Backpacking Kitty. You can like this guy he's got 500,000 followers. And this is really powerful. If you've been in the marketing or professional corporate space for a long time, you're starting to see stuff like this pop up. And it might be strange to be like, how can someone like this have power? But, within all of us, we look to people that we want to be like, or live a life we want to be like, or aspire to be like. However you kind of package it, this is cool. This is fun. It's interesting. It's different. So if I'm watching this guy, regardless if maybe I'm a cat lover, maybe I'm into backpacking, or maybe neither, I just think this is really cool or cute or funny. This is something different. And there's a lot of power within individuals like this. And this is new-ish to marketing. If you've been in my role, you've been seeing stuff like this and it's power for a really long time, but it's disrupting traditional spaces. And it's so powerful because there's so many people watching it, not for sales, not for any sort of intentional marketing. They're watching it because they're interested. And through that genuine interest, there's opportunity. Like you see Aura Wheat here, aligning, talking about bread, how, it shows him eating it. He's actually doing a really good job as a professional influencer, positioning the product and then he's actually living this. It's real. This isn't a fabricated marketing situation. And going back to the transparency and authenticity piece, here it is. So marketers, now we don't really have to like put it all together and, put together a storyline. You go out there and you find your humans that are doing it the right way from genuine space. And it's cool. So maybe Aura Wheat really is a great thing to take on the road. Apparently cats love it, or cat owners love it. Who knows? The point is that it's real. people see that and they're interested in it. So then there's a genuine opportunity to relay your message with the right partners or whatever, and it's the right thing. In a business situation, this is no different. You know, if your leader is genuinely into fitness and you want to bring in corporate wellness, well, they're a great advocate to then start talking about, you know, the new gym or, you know, the new strategy we're going to do to level up with our technology, whatever it might be. It all kind of stems from authentic space when they're doing it in real life, IRL.
So, and interestingly, this is where I think as a change management professional, we can learn a lot from this, because in the past, the kind of the classic approach was you find a sponsor who has power and authority, right? It was somebody who has the right title, they're a decision maker. And so that was the person who would be the voice of the change. But what we're seeing and what you're saying is that person who is the voice of the change, they can't just be a figurehead. They need to be somebody who is actively engaged and utilizing the whatever it is that the change is. So here the change is the product, it's the bread, and we see this guy eating a sandwich. So in the context of a change in an organization, instead of just positioning a leader as they're the face, they're the voice, they're advocating for it, as change leaders, we need to be identifying people who are going to be actively using and engaging with the change. So thinking about, maybe it's not the person who's in a VP role, it is your front line, or it is somebody, your mid-level manager, who is using it and is living it, because that's going to be more influential and giving more of their story. So that storytelling piece is really huge here. How do you humanize the people that are saying, here's what you should do and why, or here's what I'm doing and here's why you should want to do it too. So it really helps kind of reframe how we think about sponsorship and leadership from a change management perspective, because I don't think that you know, it's been a top down versus something like this, which is, it kind of changes the name of the game for us.
Yeah. And that's the key, is it's really an awareness in the influencer space and the corporate space of how things are changing. And instead of fighting that process, embrace what's there. Now, instead of having to spend all this time, energy, and money and resource to facilitate a campaign like that, go out there and find a guy that's backpacking with this cat, or that's doing this. Like, it's already happening. So again, this kind of takes us back to that recruiting conversation. Do your due diligence to find the right people that are already doing this genuinely and authentically. And a lot of the work's already done for you if you know how to put it into the right place. And it's the same thing with leadership. You can go out there and find the right people that are passionate about leading a certain sort of change or innovation or what have you, and bring them into the situation because they're already doing it. And this is a good little check-in for yourself. Who do you follow? As you can see, it happens in nature. So humans are no different. We are inclined, we are pack animals, to find who's doing something that we desire to do, to be like, to want to level up, to be like. So find the right people for your leaders, and being conscious of who you're following in your own personal world.
Yeah. And it's a good way to even, you know, those qualities, those traits that the individual, the teams that, you know, that they embody. And if there's those things that you want to embody as well, it's aligning with that individual, that person. So that's a big part of what it means to follow, is, to your point, you desire to either be like them or to have a similar situation. And so that's a really, really good takeaway too. So kind of shifting gears here. So we've talked a lot about trust and leadership, and why it's important to identify the right people to help lead and advocate for the change, and core values, which we're going to bring back into the conversation. So switching gears to get into some of that change management speak and theory and concepts. If you have been trained in change management, or you are familiar with change management, the concept of sponsorship will not be unfamiliar. But if you're not familiar with that, really what it means is that there's two types of sponsorship. That's the term. Now, in an organization with a change, you'll have a designated executive. You have a VP sponsor. That's sort of the classic way of thinking about, okay, this person has the right title, the right level of authority, they're a decision maker, they're going to be accountable for the change outcomes. Now, that's how we've leveraged those roles in the past. But again, we're seeing a shift in what people align with, what they want from the brands and from the leaders that they align with. And again, flattening of organizations, how does that role shift. Then you've got your change champions, your influencers. So these are the people that Kristen was talking about, that you have to go and find and recruit, but they're going to save you a lot of time, effort, and accelerate adoption, because they're going to be the people that are living and breathing the change, and they're the best example of success. And it's social proof. That's what people often need. They need examples of others who are doing something, doing the things that they either need to be doing. You know, in a corporate context, it's not like you have this choice in some cases to do or not do something, because if you're rolling out a new system and then the other system's going away, you have to use the new system. Now, your experience getting to that point, your ability, your capability, your effectiveness using that system, that's all impacted by your change journey. When you have influencers in place who are doing those things, who are a little bit further down the path than you, they are great examples of how, and they help you overcome those barriers, those mental barriers, those mindset shifts that need to occur when change and transformation happens. So, you know, if as a leader, as a change leader, as a leader of people and teams, one way to embody this in your own leadership style, whether you are, again, you know, the change lead on a project or leading a team through a change, it's this concept of leading with influence. And so taking some of those ideas that Kristen was talking about building trust, focusing on your core values, there's really a difference between being a manager and being a leader. So influencer leaders, they really lean into, I kind of contextualize this in the, it's like more of a coaching approach. They inspire people to want to change. They tap into that human behavior, that motivation component, just by living and doing the things that are aligned with, you know, what either what they care about or what is required within the organization. They care about people. They're really focused on the development and helping people through that change transition, that change journey. They have followers versus subordinates, and they are more focused on doing the right thing than doing things right. So if you think about management, it's very task-oriented, task-focused. It's frankly quicker paced, and there's definitely a space for management in an organization. But in general, you'll find when it comes to adoption and accelerating adoption, you'll move more quickly through that process if people make that choice themselves versus being told what to do. And Kristen mentioned this, and it's on the slide as well, inspiring people to follow versus coercively telling them what they need to be doing. And so that applies to you as a leader, that applies to your sponsors, your executive sponsors, and your influencers that are participating in the process. So we've brought up the conversation of values as a leader, as a brand ambassador, as an influencer. And that is really how you build trust. So you're building trust by displaying your core values in the way that you communicate, in the way that you show up. In social media world, it's by the images and videos that you're presenting consistently. So if you think about, you know, Kristen, like, what is the backpacking kitty value? Well, to me, it was like, he enjoys the outdoors. He clearly loves his cat. He likes health and fitness. He's got all these things because those are the images that he's showing, and those are the words that he's saying. So to contextualize this in an organization, you know, what is your company value, right? Like, how do you know that? Like, what are the spoken and the unspoken ways of working and being? And so that's at least how I think about it. How would you add anything to that in terms of like how you connect those dots between what you value, what your company values, and how that shows up?
Absolutely. I would do like the very like direct close-up version of your core values, and then the 10,000-foot view. So an example would be backpacking kitty. You might think immediately it's someone is inspired them because they love cats, they love backpacking, they love the outdoors. Also, from a 10,000-foot view, I'm more of a dog person than a cat person, but I'm into all animals. I'm more of a CrossFitter than I am a backpacker. So in the gym, although I'm from Colorado, we're here for the outdoors. But what I really am inspired by backpacking kitty and this guy is his independence and his freedom. Here he is monetizing his his love for just whatever he wants to do. So like as an independent freedom seeker myself, I find that inspiring. So even though I'm not immediately identifying with the thing that are presenting themselves right up front, just the core values of independence and freedom, I really do align with. So to step back and take that 10,000 foot view of what other things could, you know, these certain situations, leaders or opportunities or inspirers bring to the table that, you know, anyone could identify with. Also, I think it's really great for companies to check in, you know, over the time, as right in the beginning, the first slide was talking about evolution and really dialing in and constantly evolving as a company, as a human, as a leader. You know, you can do your core values in the beginning, but then do them, you know, every single year and touch base and see how some of these values have changed or evolved, and how your potential leaders or influencers you're recruiting need to change and evolve. So I think this is something you really just need to check into over time and know how they evolve and be okay with evolving those.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of, I mean, absolutely. I think your values do change over time, but there are some foundational ones that are pretty consistent. And so, you know, doing a values assessment at the individual level and doing that check-in is important. And then thinking about, so, you know, you said, let's do the initial and then do that 10,000 foot view. I think the same applies in the corporate context, right? Like you bring your values to work with you. Your values are those beliefs that you have, those ways of being, but then you've also got the vision and mission and values of an organization. And that's really designed to kind of bring people together with disparate values and align on something consistent. And I'll say, you know, culture it's hard to change because it reflects people's values. And when people, you know, when within organizations, you're going to find alignment between people who have similar values. And when they get that confirmation bias, I'll say, or those things are reinforced, whether it's spoken or unspoken, and I'll give examples of that in just a second, it actually kind of further strengthens and deepens their alignment to that belief or that value. So for example, if the values of an organization are whatever they are, and then the individual values are whatever they are, but then they also are working crazy hours and passive aggressive behavior and other things that are more toxic, those things will get reinforced as well. So I think it's really important for change leaders to understand that there's a difference between individual values, organizational values, and then there's values that are spoken and unspoken, and how that can impact the kind of the reputation of not only the organization, but the people that are stepping into leadership roles, that are being asked to lead and influence change, or support that as a work stream, you know, within a project. And I think that's why really understanding what your core values are, your own personal core values are, is so incredibly important. And that's really your starting point. And it's your starting point for yourself. It's your starting point for the people that you are coaching and supporting through the process. And so, Kristen, I loved how you kind of helped take that the conversation around backpacking kitty from what I saw to something bigger, right? And more aligned with the values that you share. So these are just examples of values that you know, an individual could have. And I think the distinction that I want to make is that these are values with things like travel and money. Those are not values. So just making sure that people really understand kind of what core values are. But anything you want to add here about kind of going through that process of aligning on your core values and why this is so important, whether you are a leader or a manager of people or projects or teams, or representing a brand or a product?
Sure. I think the key takeaway is do the process yourself so you can authentically lead it. If you sit down and you run your own core values and you do them, and then you understand, oh, this is why I care about this, or oh, this and this, or this is how it shows up in my life, or I identify with, like, one of my top ones is independence. And that's why I appreciate Backpacking Kitty, because they get to do what they want. So knowing and processing why independence is so important to me, then that can help me lead, connect, and facilitate those conversations with my change leaders that I'm leading, with my brand ambassadors, my influencers. If I can identify with the process, understand it, and really take hold of it, I'm going to be able to lead that process onto my people that I want them to further inspire, influence, or manage that change in my company or brand ambassador program. So really sit with it and understand that process for yourself, the who, what, where, when, why, so you really feel that whole process. So you can just lead it out all that more authentically.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I think, whether we realize it or not, our values show up in our choices, and our choices, are reflected in our behaviors. And so it really all does tie together. Um, these are character traits of inspirational leaders. We sort of threw these out there. I think if you're thinking about how to up level as a leader, it does start with understanding your core values, and then how your core values will influence your choices and decisions. And then thinking about, well, what type of leader do I want to be? And do my values align with the traits that I want to embody and reflect? And so there was actually, I pulled this from some research. These are most closely aligned with inspirational leaders. And trust has kind of been a key theme for today, empathy, honesty. These are all really great traits. I definitely can see why these would align with someone who is able to lead with influence versus having to use power and authority, which, again, I think as change management professionals, we need to think differently about how we identify and work with sponsors within our organization. Anything to add here, Kristen?
Yeah, I think without overthinking and getting too far into the minutia and details of the why, I think it's deeply important that we understand, as human beings, we innately want to be part of something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether it's religion or organization or corporate situations or brand ambassador teams or athletic teams, we want to be part of something that's mission driven or something that we align with. So if you're displaying these core values of empathy and kindness, of course I want to be around someone that's kind or that has empathy or that's honest. Like these aren't traditionally put into like corporate situations, but we are in a space where things are deeply, deeply humanized. And when people want to innately be part of something bigger than them, that manages that change so much easier. I should say there's less management there because they are naturally wanting to be part of this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then, do you want to take us through just, I guess, ways for change leaders to think about how to link core values to their actions and behaviors?
Sure. So again, anything that you want to do as a leader or inspire or manage, you want to run through yourself and through your own situation so you can get an idea of what the process that your leaders or your ambassadors or whatever are going to be going through. So linking the core values to actions and behaviors, and name a time when you were living outside of those core values and you felt out of alignment. So take a minute and think about personal situations, relationships, professional situations. I can think of athletic situations where, I'm showing up not because I want to, but I feel like I have to. I need the paycheck, or I need to qualify for an event, or there's some motive that's outside of me genuinely wanting to be there. And there's friction. So that kind of brings us to the second one. When you were in alignment, how did this impact your leadership style? So think about a time when you were genuinely in a leadership role. Maybe you didn't know it as an oldest sister, oldest brother, in a marriage, at your work. Maybe it wasn't even a super leadership role. Maybe you led the register at the gas station. I don't know. Or maybe you were a CEO of a Fortune 500. It doesn't really matter. If it was in flow and you felt that alignment, you should be able to, as you reflect, think about how there was just so much more of a natural flow, and you were there and your leadership was probably happening without you knowing it, versus when you felt something was out of alignment and you felt like you were making people have to do something, or maybe you didn't buy in, so you were having to do that. And anytime you're selling something that you don't genuinely believe in, you feel it. Have you ever, felt a salesperson show up and they're selling, windows or candy bars, and you're like, I don't eat that, thank you, no. And you could tell that, it's a fit person selling candy bars, and you could tell they didn't even eat it. So it's right off the bat, again, the consumer, now we're a million times savvier than we once were. It's an out of alignment. So now that's not only impacting you, it's impacting the sale, which is in turn going to impact the company or the brand ambassador program. So being in alignment is really critical, and you can reflect on these situations where you felt in alignment and out of alignment and notice the difference. And that in itself should motivate you to seek like-minded humans, like-minded ambassadors, like-minded change managers, and build out your team from that space.
Yeah. And then thinking about it, even just as an individual, whether or not you're in a leadership role. So let's say you value independence or honesty and integrity, and putting this in the context of a corporate setting, if those are your values, and then the leaders and the people that are responsible for implementing a change, they are, withholding information, or there's a lack of communication, or the reasons and the timelines and everything keeps changing and shifting, there's going to be a clash of values. So these things that are happening are out of alignment with your values, and that's going to create resistance within the individual because there's that clash of values. And so in order for that resistance to be turned into resilience, those leaders who are in that position, who are responsible for guiding teams and organizations through change, they really need to be clear about their values and also the impact of their values on the change and the ways of working, because that will, whether they realize it or not, they may have an adverse impact just by, because there's a values clash. So yes, I would think about it in that context too. Here are some tools that you can use as change leaders. Just ways to connect, to build trust, to build connection with the people that are on your team, within your organization. There's quite a few activities here. I'll just pick a couple of them. One, especially in a hybrid remote environment, it's really important to start to get to know people as people. We don't have the benefit, and maybe some organizations do, of having that full history that you might find on social media, where you've got everything displayed and you can go and do all the research about the individuals and the people and learn about them. That may exist, but it also may not within the context of the corporate setting. So take some time to get to know people, and even create a slide or some sort of presentation that shares information about what you value, who you are, what your background is, fun facts about you, and use it as an icebreaker or some sort of tool to connect with people, because trust is built on relationships that are authentic and consistent. And so that's one way that you can kickstart a change initiative, a change effort, is by just getting to know the people on your team, and then getting to know the sponsors and the influencers. Another example is hosting regular update calls. So that should, that's probably not a surprise, but that transparency, communication, providing information, not withholding it, putting information out there that is accurate, and consistently doing that, that is a great way to build trust. And that'll, likely align with people's core values in many ways. So those are some examples of things that you can do. If you have questions about these, please do not hesitate to reach out to Kristen and I. We can spend some more time talking through the other examples, but that's just at a high level, some ways for you to get to know your people, be an effective leader, and lead by example. So Kristen, you want to wrap this up with some final thoughts?
Absolutely. Before I even get into these, I always advise clients, my athletes, kids I coach, future leaders, anytime you hear the word influencer, I want you to think of inspirer. Think of, if any of your people take that differently, I always, influencer kind of has a different kind of connotation. I think even people could say this with change management. Just level all that in your mind to inspiration. And I think going from that space will change how you do everything else. So influence is a powerful lever for change. Inspiration is a powerful lever for change. Influencers build trust by connecting their core values to their brands changes they promote. So again, going back to those core values, really get to know them and embrace them and lead from there. Core value alignment can increase change sponsor effectiveness. If you recruited the right people that have the same core values as you do, they will want to be inspired by you and make this change that we need to make. Connect your core values to raise your own level of influence. Humanize the brand. It starts with you. Get to know yourself, take your time, run through the process for you so you know what your change managers, your influencers, your inspirers are going to be going through. Attitude reflects leadership. So dial it in yourself and you will reflect that accordingly.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. So hopefully as a change management, change leader within your organization, as a consultant, you got a few key takeaways about how to leverage what social media, what marketing experts are already doing as it relates to consumer, getting people to change their behaviors, change their mind, leveraging the power of influence and inspiring people to take action, and how you can do that within, with leaders within your organization, your sponsors, your influencers, and people within your team. If you would like to connect with us to learn more, to explore this topic to give us a different perspective. Maybe you disagree with what we have shared with you today. We'd love to hear from you. We're here for healthy conversations and kind of opening up our minds to different ways of thinking as well. So all of our information is up there. Please do not hesitate to reach out. We hope you that have enjoyed this conversation and learned something from it. And yeah, thanks very much for watching this webinar. Enjoy the rest of your conference. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.